Hello. My name is Lydia Luminous. I had this experience on the 10th of October 2023. It was an ordinary day, at least that's how it began. I'd gone about my usual routine, not knowing that my life was about to take an unimaginable turn. I got involved in an accident. I still remember the sound of screeching tires, a sound that seemed to rip through the air. The world slowed as if time itself hesitated. My car, once so secure, was now a cage, spinning uncontrollably. I felt the weight of the impact before I could even understand what had happened. Metal twisted and glass shattered, and for a brief moment, I was aware of everything and nothing all at once. I knew, without knowing how I knew, that I was in the midst of something I couldn't escape. Then there was nothing. No pain, no noise, no sense of fear. Just darkness. I've often tried to describe what happened next, but words never quite seem to capture it. It was the strangest thing. One moment, I was in my body, feeling the weight of the accident, the next, I was somewhere else. I was no longer confined to the broken shell of my body. Instead, I found myself hovering above it, detached, observing the scene below like a quiet spectator. I could see the wreckage, the twisted metal, the shattered glass, and my own body lifeless, crumpled in the driver's seat. I remember feeling no fear, no panic, just a sense of calm detachment. My body was below me, but it wasn't me. I felt more like myself in that moment, outside of my physical form, than I ever had before. It was surreal to see myself from this perspective, but it wasn't frightening. In fact, it was strangely peaceful, as though I was witnessing something natural, something that was simply meant to happen. As I lingered there, watching my own body, I felt a pull. It wasn't forceful, but it was undeniable. Something was calling me, urging me to move forward. Slowly, I began to drift, gently, as though carried by a soft current. Ahead of me was a light, warm, inviting, radiant in a way that words can't fully describe. It wasn't just a light that illuminated the space, it illuminated me. With every inch I floated closer, I felt lighter, more at peace. The closer I came to the light, the more I sensed a presence. It wasn't frightening or overwhelming, it was comforting. There was love in that light, a love so pure, so deep, it filled me completely. I felt as though I belonged there, like this light was where I was always meant to be. Then, through the light, I saw Jesus. There was no mistaking it. His presence was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. He wasn't just a figure, he was love itself. The love radiating from him was all-consuming, yet gentle, powerful but soft. He didn't speak to me with words, but I understood everything he wanted to say. The message was simple: love. That's what life is about. It's why we're here. To love, to be loved, to share that love with others. In his presence, I felt a deep sense of purpose, like my existence had always been tied to this divine connection. He showed me that my life had meaning, even the parts one had struggled to understand. It was all part of a bigger plan, one that was rooted in love. As I stood in the presence of Jesus, I came to understand something profound about the purpose of mankind. It's not complicated. We make it complicated, but the truth is simple: we are here to love. That is our purpose. It's not about wealth, status, or accomplishments. It's about how we love one another, how we lift each other up, and how we reflect the love of God in all we do. In that moment, I understood that every act of kindness, every bit of compassion, every time we choose to love instead of hate, we fulfill our true purpose. It was so clear, so obvious, yet I had spent so much of my life missing it. The purpose of mankind is to be vessels of love, to live in a way that reflects God's love back into the world. I also realized that our purpose goes beyond just loving each other. It's about knowing and loving God, the source of all love. We are here to seek Him, to build a relationship with Him. Not because we have to, but because in knowing and loving God, we find true fulfillment. It's in that relationship that we discover who we truly are. Loving God isn't about following rules or rituals, it's about connection, intimacy, and trust. It's about recognizing that we are deeply loved, just as we are, and responding to that love with our whole hearts. Finally, I understood that sharing God's love is the greatest thing we can do in this life. It's not enough to simply know love or to feel it. We are called to share it, to be the hands and feet of love in a world that so desperately needs it. I saw that every act of love, no matter how small, is significant. Each one ripples out, touching more lives than we can ever know. As I floated there, in the presence of Jesus, I felt an overwhelming sense of purpose. My life wasn't just about me. It was about how I could use the love I'd been given to make a difference in the lives of others. It was about being a vessel for God's love, spreading that love in every interaction, every moment, every choice. As I stood in that radiant presence, I was shown my life in vivid detail. It wasn't like watching a movie, it was more immersive, like I was reliving key moments, both the beautiful and the painful. I saw the joys, those moments of love, kindness, and connection that had shaped my soul. But alongside the joys were my failures. The moments when I had hurt others, knowingly or unknowingly, the times I let pride or anger guide my actions. I felt the weight of those moments, not in a way that condemned me, but in a way that invited me to reflect, to understand. It wasn't about judgment, it was about growth. Every mistake was shown to me with the same love that had enveloped me since the moment I left my body. In that life review, I came to understand the importance of my mistakes. They weren't there to define me but to teach me. Each failure, every wrong turn, had carried with it an opportunity for learning, for growth. I saw the times I had been unkind, the relationships I had neglected, and the moments I had let fear or insecurity hold me back. But instead of feeling ashamed, I felt an overwhelming sense of understanding. I realized that mistakes were part of the journey. They were necessary for me to become who I was meant to be. Without them, I wouldn't have learned compassion, humility, or the importance of forgiveness. In that space, God allows suffering because, in a world where we have the freedom to choose, pain is a consequence of those choices. It is not that God desires our suffering, but that it becomes part of the growth we need to experience to fully understand love, compassion, and grace. Free will is a gift, but it comes with consequences. We are free to make choices to act out of love or selfishness, kindness or cruelty. And those choices, both ours and others, can lead to suffering. But in allowing us that freedom, God also allows us the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to choose love despite the hardships we face. I realized that without free will, love would be meaningless. It wouldn't be a choice, it would be automatic, forced. And love, to be true and transformative, must be chosen. Even when that choice leads to suffering, it is still part of the divine plan, because through it, we learn the depth and power of love. As I stood in the presence of Jesus, enveloped in his love, I felt at peace, completely whole. A part of me didn't want to leave. The love, the understanding, the sense of being truly known were beyond anything I had ever experienced on earth. But then Jesus spoke. His voice was gentle yet firm, full of purpose and compassion. "It's not your time," he said. "You still have work to do." His words pierced through the peace I felt, reminding me of the world I had left behind. I realized then that I wasn't meant to stay in this perfect place, at least not yet. There was a purpose waiting for me back on earth, one I hadn't fully lived out. The thought of returning filled me with a mix of emotions, reluctance, fear, but also a growing sense of duty. I knew Jesus was right, I had to go back. As I processed the idea of returning, Jesus reassured me. He reminded me of the love that had always been within me, the love I had felt in this place. He told me that I was meant to bring that love into the world, to share it with others. Every lesson I had learned, every moment I had spent in his presence, was meant to prepare me for the life I was returning to. Though I didn't feel ready, I trusted him. He promised that I wouldn't be alone. Even though I would return to a world full of challenges, he would be with me every step of the way. His love would guide me, and the purpose he had for my life would give me strength. And then, with a final look of love and encouragement, I felt myself being pulled back, away from the light, back toward my earthly body. When I returned to my body, I was forever changed. The love I had experienced on the other side stayed with me, burning like a beacon in my heart. I knew that my purpose was simple yet profound: to love. To embrace kindness in every action, every word, every interaction with others. The world hadn't changed, but I had. I began to see people differently. I saw their struggles, their pain, and I realized how much they needed love and understanding. Every day, I tried to carry with me the love Jesus had shown me, to embody kindness even when it was hard. It wasn't always easy, but the purpose I had been given gave me strength. I realized that making a difference didn't require grand gestures or heroic acts. The real power lay in the small, everyday choices. A kind word to someone feeling lost, a helping hand to a stranger, forgiveness to those who had wronged me. These were the ways I could make an impact. I no longer measured my life by achievements or recognition. Instead, I focused on how I could spread love and light to those around me, even in the smallest of ways. Each day became an opportunity to bring a little more goodness into the world. And as I did, I noticed how love had a ripple effect. A smile, a gesture of kindness, could change someone's entire day. That change could then spread to others, creating a web of compassion and light that stretched farther than I could see. Learning to trust that plan has been one of my greatest challenges, but also one of my most profound sources of peace. I don't need to have all the answers or know how things will unfold. God's plan is already in motion, beyond time, beyond my understanding, and that's where faith comes in. Trusting in the eternal allows me to live fully in the present, knowing that everything is unfolding as it should, building relationships with people of different belief. Thank you.